Barest, downest, Chicagoist, barest, it is draftist, dayest. So uh, that's the best I can do with like Pig Latin or whatever I'm doing. It's not even Pig Latin, it's just Latin ish, kind of. Whatever the case may be, thank you so much for tuning in. We are here on draft day. We are a few hours away. 7 p.m. Central Standard Time is when the first pick will be in. We'll be broadcasting live tonight for the NFL draft. We are looking at most probably the era of Caleb Williams to begin, but the intrigue is no longer even rooted in Caleb Williams at this point. The intrigue now is who will he be throwing the ball to? Or who will be sacking the quarterback? Or who will be protecting the blind side for Caleb Williams? That's the intrigue. That's the number 9 selection. So far, all reports indicate that the Bears do have a list. We're going to go over that list as a reminder. We're going to be talking about it. And in fact, in my draft today, my final draft, something wild came up in the draft. And again, I didn't make any changes. I didn't make any moves. And you're not going to believe who I got. So, very wild sort of drafts happening out here. A lot of speculation. And we got a new stadium that costs between $2.3 billion and $5 billion, depending on which ESPN you ask. So, if you ask Chicago, $2.3 billion. If you asked ESPN, $5 billion. This is getting a little bit wild. I don't even know the number. And the Chicago Bears announcement is now being mocked. So a lot going on, a lot of weird stuff happening here. But the big thing, Caleb Williams likely to be the number 1 overall draft pick coming to the Chicago Bears in a situation that was created by one man, and that man was Lovie Smith. The reason that the Chicago Bears have this pick is because of this game that happened not that long ago. Lovie Smith ends up going for 2 at the end of the Houston-Indianapolis game. Houston ends up winning. Houston, by 1 game, becomes the 31st ranked team in the NFL, making the Carolina Panthers the worst team, giving the Bears the prohibitive number 1 overall selection. So shout out to Lovie Smith for making it happen one more time for the Chicago Bears. So today is draft day, and I got a list out here of all of the people who are projected to be Joe Alt. We've got Caleb Williams, obviously. We've got Roma Dunze. We've got Jared Verse. We've got Malik Neighbors. I did take Marvin Harrison off. I think all indications are that Marvin Harrison will not be available when we want him to be available. And we'll see how this ends up. Now, there are plenty of options that the Chicago Bears are going to have in this draft. And all eyes are looking right now at Roma Dunze, because there's been a lot made of Roma Dunze being out here playing with Caleb Williams, practicing. They were doing a symposium, a practice with Special Olympics kids, and it seemed like they got along pretty famously. And it seems like the Chicago Bears are really interested in Roma Dunze. Is that a case? I don't know yet. We'll see whether or not that's the case. But let's get into the likelihood here. And this is it right here. Caleb Williams is the likely first overall selection. So Caleb Williams started his first game at quarterback for the Bowie Bulldogs in Maryland. As a child, he'd previously played running back and linebacker in the 3 years leading up to this moment, but after Mark McCain saw Williams throw a 40-yard pass on the dot as a 10-year-old kid, his team's third-string quarterback season before McCain, Russell started, and Carl Williams agreed to try the fourth grader at Signal Caller. So here was Caleb Williams in his first contest, a 7v7 game, and his first throw was an interception. He attempted a 15-yard pass but made the wrong read. He disregarded what he saw the defense had set up and paid for it immediately. And Caleb Williams gave an interview where he said, "Every time I lost when I was a kid, I cried. One thing about me is my guys know I care, and winning is the most important thing. There's a time and a place for it, and understanding, even if it's raw emotion and it comes out then and there, but being able to control it and hold it until you get home, it isn't on my radar." His tears, the frustration with himself, and that initial failure weren't for naught, though. In fact, they turned out to be the thing that drives him. The second the second big thing happened 3 years later. He was playing for Bowie Elite, a youth football program. His new coach benched him during the playoff game after he went the wrong direction on a handoff, fumbled a snap, and didn't throw to the right place. It was after that game that Williams flipped the switch and altered the trajectory of his career. It's also where the legend actually began. That really kind of started it, when he realized that it was deeper than just going out there and running routes and seeing who was open, said his new coach, McCain, who co-owns the Athletic Republic with Thomas and Carl Williams. It changed his vision of the game. There was a switch where that energy that he was taking when he was upset with losing, the switch kind of made him somehow take the uncontrollable emotion. All of a sudden, he didn't feel pressure anymore. He just kind of seized the moment. The start of Williams' ascent doesn't begin with winning the starting job as a freshman at Gonzaga High School, nor when he helped the Eagles erase a 20-point deficit and tossed a 53-yard Hail Mary to cap Gonzaga's improbable win in the 2018 Washington Catholic Athletic Conference Finals, or when he led the Oklahoma Sooners to an unfathomable comeback, 55-48 victory against the Texas Longhorn in 2020, a game that I watched, by the way. Cannot believe that was happening. So we're going to be, the question is, are we going to be telling stories about Caleb Williams very, very soon? That's the question. I work with the Baltimore Ravens, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed. None of them had the competitive drive that Caleb Williams had, said McCain. It's unmatched. He simply does not compute losing. He doesn't accept failure at all. Going into high school, he would want to watch films of the game right after. He didn't want to wait until Monday or Tuesday. He wanted immediately to figure out what he had done wrong. There are a few reasons NFL experts anticipate that when the Chicago Bears put in the selection, that Williams' name is the one that they'll read off the card. So, he was a leader, said his next coach, Brooks. He was physically dominant. He was popular among the campers. From a very early age, he just separated himself from the pack as special. Randy Trivers says that it's not so much how he get on the radar as how could he not be on the radar. Once Williams was finally on the team, Gonzaga, Trivers observed how the freshman quickly bought into the motto, men for others, and won over his new teammates with his work ethic, charisma, and selflessness. Men for others is like living a Christ-like life and doing things that are not necessarily for you and yourself, but for others. So, living your best life for you, your family, and your friends and teammates and your community. This is the testament of who Caleb Williams is or has been all of this time. He's an emotional kid. He wears his emotions on his sleeve, and he fights hard for the success of his team, not for his personal glory. Now, that doesn't mean that he's not going to celebrate. He's not going to be happy when he wins an MVP award or when he wins a Heisman or when he has personal success. But it does mean that he's even more happy when it happens to his teammate. So this is a testament to who Caleb Williams is. And perhaps, and I'll be the first to say, maybe I sell this guy short. Maybe I have, or maybe I did sell this guy short during the buildup. I wanted to see Justin Fields. Be that guy in Chicago. I felt like there was something that we didn't finish. And nobody likes an unfinished story. However, here it is. Here we are with this situation. Caleb Williams coming in here, and everything that you read about Caleb Williams, everything that you're looking at from Caleb Williams, it's all really looking fantastic. So Caleb Williams, number 1 overall selection, or at least we think so. We're going to find out in less than 12 hours. This is going to be the moment where it all comes together for the Chicago Bears, or does it? Well, we're going to look at one of the mock drafts, and we're going to see how this plays out. The prohibitive number 1 pick, Caleb Williams. And then it looks like the Bears are looking to make a move that a lot of people are giving this right now. They're really going with Byron Murphy. I keep going back and forth between Murphy and Roma Odunze. While Odunze is my dream pick at number 9, there's no guarantee he'll be available. I feel better about Murphy's availability, and I can see the Bears falling in love with him. He is a disruptive 3-technique defensive tackle, lightning quick off the ball and offering rare mobility for his position. So let's be watching today to see if Byron Murphy becomes available. When you see my draft, by the way, you're going to lose your shit because you're not going to believe who fell into my lap at number 9. Now, I want to say this. It wasn't Marvin Harrison Jr., but it was a wide receiver, and it was wild that it was there. Also, in round 3, speaking of Roma Dunze, they're talking about Jalen Polk, the wide receiver out of Washington, also 1,000 yards. Jalen Polk was one of the 2 1,000-yard receivers for Washington last year. So moving into round 3, looks like they're looking at Jalen Polk in this mock draft. And then at number 4, the 4th round pick, Tanner Bartolini. Again, we've talked about Tanner Bartolini before. Great run blocker. And Illinois Jones, you got it right. You got it right. He was available for me. He was available for me at that 9 position, or at that 9 position. Yes. But Tanner Bartolini, I think what we talked about here was I consider this an edge rusher here, but the value of the 4th round doesn't wow me in the class. However, I find myself enticed by the potential interior offensive lineman who could be available. Bartolini has taken significant snaps at center, left guard, right tackle, and right tackle. With elite speed, agility, and explosive testing grades, he's a high-level athlete with good lateral quickness and lower half flexibility. His spatial awareness in pass protection is very good, excelling at finding work on double teams and chip blocks. He also has very short arms. When being measured, he had very short arms, which caused problems with him in his pass protection, but he was a tremendous run blocker for the Wisconsin Badgers. And by the way, Wisconsin, a run-heavy team, so it would make sense, but he doesn't have tremendous length or the ability to bury defenders, but he offers starting upside and could eventually step into such a role if the Bears selected him. So perhaps we'll see Tanner Bartolini, which has come up on our radar a couple times. Now, I've said before, again, I think that, if we're looking for pass protection, Tanner Bartolini is probably not the guy, but he's also done a serviceable job for Wisconsin and is among the 4th best center coming out of this draft. So now that we've done that, now that we know that, most probably we're looking at Caleb Williams, let's talk about the options for Chicago. And this is my list of options as we're going down. When you're talking about offensive skill sets, it was Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze, and then Brock Bowers. When you're talking about the offensive line, it was Joe Alt, Olu Fashanu, Troy Fatanu, Talise Fuaga, and then J.C. Latham. And then for the defenders, it was Dallas Turner, Latu Latu, Jared Verse, Chop Robinson, and then Byron Murphy. Now, I threw Byron Murphy in here. I threw Byron Murphy in here just kind of out of necessity because people started to talk about him. I didn't feel like it was a position of need. I feel like Gervon Dexter probably is going to accomplish a lot at the position, so it didn't seem to me like this was going to be one of the moves. It's not a need position. However, the more I look at it, the more I get intrigued by the fact that, here's what could happen. What we could see is Montez Sweat paired with somebody like Byron Murphy. Who do you double team? Which one of these players are you going to be able to double team? Because now you're going to have to account for 2 people, and both of those could command a double team. A rookie coming out of college, not likely to command a double team, but very quickly, if he turns out to be as good as advertised, then that means there's a lot of potential here for problems for offensive lines, and they're going to have to consider a double team, which takes pressure off of Montez Sweat. So, I mean, maybe, just maybe, if you get a nice bull rush out of Byron Murphy, not to say that Gervon Dexter is not going to do it, by the way, but if you get a nice bull rush out of him, and then all of a sudden you're looking at this and you have to account for him, then that takes the secondary blocker on Montez Sweat away because he's going to have to chip and assist on Byron Murphy, freeing up Montez Sweat. So there's a real possibility. There's a real possibility that this comes into play. And what I don't like is I think that there are better players more suited in the positions that we really, really, really need. And I don't think that we need a defensive tackle. I'm not sold on DeMarcus Walker, but I did undersell him in a lot of what I looked at before. He did have a really good end to the season. Yannick Ngakoue, of course, got most of the snaps. So when I look at DeMarcus Walker, he ended up with 4 sacks on the season, but he had 6 pressures in the last 3 games. He really started to come alive over the end of the season. And by the way, coming alive, when I say that, I don't mean that he was balling out. I mean, he was just doing a good job. He was doing the job that he was paid to do, and he was doing it a little better, except for that last game. Last game, just nobody really came to play. And by the way, when you look at that last game and when you look at it and you start to talk about Green Bay, then you better not say anything good about Montez Sweat, because Montez Sweat didn't get a sack. The only person who got a sack in that game was DeMarcus Walker. So there you have it. So maybe I undersold him a little bit. So, and there's plenty to look. There's plenty to like about that number. I'm going to be intrigued. We're going to save a lot of that for later on. I'm going to show you who I picked in just a few minutes. But let's move on to the stadium, because that stadium deal is going to be really intriguing. By the way, I think that if I were to lay this out and I were to say that this is my hot numbers, my hot board right here. Number 1 is Malik Neighbors. Number 2 is Roma Dunze. Number 3 is going to be Joe Alt. Number 4 is going to be Brock Bowers. Number 5 is going to be Olu Fashanu. Number 6 for me is going to be Jared Verse. Number 7 is going to be Dallas Turner. Number 8 is going to be Chop Robinson. Number 9 is going to be Byron Murphy. And then fill in the rest. All of those guys are going to be available, or should be available, in this range right here. That's the way that I'm looking at it right now. And we'll see tonight. We're going to find out pretty quickly whether or not they have it. And by the way, Crimson says this: I'm interested in seeing if Dexter makes a leap this year. If he makes a move, if Dexter, I think Dexter's going to get real better because he has a better understanding of the game. And if DeMarcus Walker, and by the way, DeMarcus Walker, I don't think he's going to improve. He's going to be more familiar with the team. But of course, we're in a new defense. I don't know that the system is going to be different. I think maybe because we're still going to have Matt Eberflus calling the plays according to him. So the defensive coordinator is basically just going to be making sure these guys are ready to play. So there is some possibility here that the second year in the same system will make DeMarcus Walker a little bit better. And if he gets better just by the fact that he's been here a little bit of a longer time, and Gervon Dexter starts to command some attention, that again, if he comes in as advertised and he improves the way that he has, then the same thing applies with Gervon Dexter as with Byron Murphy. If you have to chip him because it's going to take 2 people to slow him down, that frees up Montez Sweat to do what Montez Sweat do. So I am intrigued by the opportunity. I just think that Gervon Dexter is going to end up doing what we think that Byron Murphy is going to end up doing. So it's my opinion here. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. But let's talk about, why are the Bears getting clowned on about this new stadium? First of all, by the way, I think you're going to have to park in the water at this point. No, this is a mock-up. And by the way, if you look up here in the top left here, you'll see that it says renderings and design subject to change. I think that this was just a mock-up to give people an idea of what the stadium would look like and what the former Soldier Field would look like with with kind of an open concept here, to give people an opportunity to kind of walk around. You got a baseball field out there for kids to play. You got a football field. You've got soccer field. You got different fields for people to come out and to play. And then you got that kind of open area on the stadium. There's a lot of interesting stuff. But where do they park, right? And by the way, when you look at it, you kind of compare, then you will see that the stadium is kind of elevated. And there's problems, by the way, already being developed on this stadium that we're going to get into today. So I'm kind of intrigued by why people are not liking it. But then I understood after reading an article that explained, like, what is the problem here with this? It sounds like a fantastic idea, but then, like, wow. So let's start off. The backlash over the Bears remaining in the city of Chicago is not warranted, but Danny Parkins on X says this. He says, "Holy shit, I'm just catching up." And this is kind of wild. Now, look, whoever you want, it's whoever you want. But did they really start this thing with a prayer thanking Kevin Warren and the Bears for a stadium and asking for wins and a Super Bowl? What are we doing? That is insane. I can't believe what I just watched. that's a straight parody. Now, he is not a fan of the way the Chicago Bears went about their announcement. Now, that does not mean um, that there's anything wrong fundamentally with the idea, but it should be noted that that was a little bit awkward. All right. Um, the Bears stadium reveal was great humor with very little substance, a world class destination for a world class city, introducing initial designs for the new lakefront stadium. So that's what we want to see right here. We want to see, what does this thing look like, right? Well, let's check it out. This is Soldier Field, and now we're looking at the conversion over. So let's run it, and you can see right there. So now this gives us a little bit better of a view right here. Now you have this big stadium. If you notice, it's not an open roof, it's a closed roof, but it's going to be visible. So you'll be able to see outside of it. And this big glass enclosure over here, you're going to be able to see Old Soldier Field. By the way, the stadium, most likely, in my opinion, still going to be called Soldier Field. And it's still going to be, I don't think anything really fundamentally changes here. I think we're going to take with us that whole Soldier Field moniker. Now, the question that I would have at this point is, what the fuck? Okay. Now, here's the other part to it. Let me go back here. Crimson, help me out here. Crimson, you're watching this along with me. So let's pop back here. And so the garage that we're talking about right here, this was the garage, and here's the south lot. Okay. So if I have this right, let's watch this thing manifest one more time. God damn it. Yeah, of course I did that because you're an idiot, Bleeves. All right, let's try that one more time. So let's pop this up and then bang right there. Oh, motherfucker, did I just do it again? You know what? I need an intervention. Okay, so it looks like the south lot is still going to be there. So did I get that right? Is the south lot still going to be there? And if there's a south lot, are we going to park underneath the stadium? That's going to be the question. Because remember, if you watch this and if you're looking at it, then you might notice, by the way, that at least in this one context here, with this, if you look at it, then I think, motherfucker, I just hit that button again. All right, so let's get around here. There you go. So now you can see the parking lot is still back here. And this is the spot where the parking is. And I thought, is this even big enough for a stadium? Well, it turns out that little, God, you know what? It escapes me, guys. Don't be offended by the fact that I don't know what the name of the place is. What is the name of the little the entryway, the underground part, the parking. What is the name of that little parking bridge or parking lot area right there? Because that appears to be where they're going to be building, right? So let's go back again. And again, here's the south parking lot right here. If you can see my cursor moving, it's like right, what the fuck is it? Right there. That's where the parking lot is. So when you see this develop, bang right there. You see it starting to develop on. So the parking lot, we're just going to be closer to the parking lot, but the parking lot is still going to stay. So let's get into a little bit more. There we go. Beautiful view, by the way. Just an absolutely fabulous sort of view. Of course, this is a mock-up, of course, but you can see right here. I mean, this stadium really looks fantastic. Really good ideas for this open concept here. God damn it! Did I just do that again? I can't stop myself from pressing the button on this thing because I keep thinking that I'm going to pause it. But anyway, so you have this open concept, open sort of area. You know, maybe this is where the tailgating starts. Maybe they just set up tailgating for you know what I mean. Like it's not what we would expect, or maybe the south lot is still the tailgating lot. But as you look through here, you start to see, you have a field over here that you can play. There's three fields. There's like this little atrium sort of center. You're keeping the pillars from the original Soldier Field. A lot of things are going to stay in place here. You have a little baseball diamond over here. Again, party pavilion. I think a party pavilion is going to be. I think it's going to be real interesting there. Enhanced lakefront pathways for bikes and pedestrians. probably put that down. Strengthened synergies with the museums. Um, I'm not sure about that, but I mean, obviously they want more green, and then those fucking people that are like, man, we gotta have more green in downtown. That just continue to bitch about everything. The museum commission or whatever they call it. Increased usable open space for all Chicagoans and visitors to enjoy. So, looking at the overhead here, you got three fields. You got, I mean, three either football or soccer fields, depending on what you want to call it. Great practice opportunities. You got this little area right here, this little rim, which is kind of an interesting sort of flow to it, an interesting sort of dynamic. And then over here, you've got a baseball field, and you got another baseball field on the other side of it. So these guys are going to be basically hitting home runs at each other. You got two little garden areas over here. So interesting concepts. Will they play out that way? Probably not. But I mean, it's really kind of nice when you look at it overall. So, and then as we watch, you're going to see that right there. There you go. This is where it really gets intriguing for me. When you look at it at night, you see a nice, well lit area, and you see a lot of different. Look at there's if you're paying attention here, one of the concepts and one of the ideas they have is like food trucks coming up into the place. You've got I don't know what this shit is over here, but I assume this is some kind of Christmas wildness that they're putting up here. And then you have like an ice skating park over here, and maybe even inside right over here, you're gonna have a little place for people to warm up in case I don't know, or vending concessions, stuff like that. But looks really really cool, especially when you start looking at it at night. Interesting sort of thing, and then boom, they just come right into the game. And one of the other pieces was it originally was announced 65,000 seats. So, Crimson, you got 77,000 seats. I have no idea where your number comes from or the other one comes from, in fact. But the concept design sort of shows this has opportunity to bid on Super Bowl, 360-degree panoramic views, a lot of fascinating stuff, a lot of interesting, and by the way, huge amounts of luxury seating, luxury booths, or boxes, whatever you call them. So, interesting to say the least. Now, what does this mean? So, the next piece is there's no doubt that video should garner excitement. However, one of the important details is that the new stadium will hold approximately 65,000 fans, as it says right here. And this is going to be where you start to be like, what in the absolute fuckaductory is going on here? And it's right here. So the Bears see their proposed stadium with a capacity of roughly 65,000 with the hopes to break ground in summer of 2025 and open in 2028. There would be about the same parking figures as with Soldier Field, which has large underground structures. And then only 65K does for a Super Bowl. So, maybe some of this at 65, it will still be the smallest in the NFL. It's currently 61. No way they build a new stadium with less than 70K. So if it's 65, and I think that might be wrong, by the way, this reporting might be wrong. But if it's wrong, then you can't bid on a Super Bowl. So it's got to be that we've got a typo somewhere. Instead of 65, it's got to be 75, right? I mean, at least we could be looking at that. But the fact is, that's another little error and another, screw up in the reporting. So JB Pritzker says, well, I'm highly skeptical of the proposal that's been made, and I believe strongly that this is not a high priority for legislators, and certainly not for me. The Bears are going to ask for 2.3 billion in public financing for the stadium, so they're going to be putting up like 2.3 billion. They want another 2.3 billion in order to make this happen. They're putting up 2.4, I think it is. So Friends of the Park is out with a harsh statement and pointed questions for the city and the Bears leadership after today's announcement of a $4.7 billion lakefront Bears stadium and campus, but doesn't say whether the group plans to sue to stop the project. So this is what they put out as their statement. The Chicago way was on full display at the Chicago Bears news conference today. Once again, Chicago taxpayers are being told what is good for them. We are told that a new dome stadium on protected lakefront land will make Chicago a great city. We are already a great city, in large part due to our protected lakefront. No, as is so often the case in Chicago, the powerful and wealthy are demanding that our entire city stop and fast track their plans to expand operations on the people's lakefront. Stupid. the friends of the parks are idiots. Okay, and by the way, if you're a part of the friends of the park, I didn't mean to call you an idiot, you idiot, but I mean if the shoe fits, put it on your head or wherever you wear your goddamn shoes. I assume you don't even wear them on your feet if you're arguing about this. If they're moving a big circle from one spot to another spot and they're turning the previous circle, which was a parking area, into a lakefront property in which you can come out and play and organize and do stuff, and you're creating more green areas than you have before, then you, my friends, are a bunch of dumbasses. Okay. And that's my medical opinion. And I am a doctor of thugonomics, like John Cena. So shut the fuck up. Meanwhile, the communities we work with who are addressing immigrant issues, homelessness, school closures, affordable housing and public safeties, equitable transportation, and lack of jobs are fighting for parity. What the fuck does that have to do with friends of the park? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, this is just a disingenuous, like, what kind of hot buttons can I throw out there to make it sound like, oh, immigrant issues? We have to do immigrant issues and we have to protect the homeless. Well, the homeless are not living at goddamn Soldier Field. So this is stupidity, right? And I hope voters see through this. This is Jesus fucking Christ. We are all being asked to trust the process and accept that it will, in fact, be a paradise. Ha, 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 ha. Paradise ends in DISE, you fucking idiots. Yet Chicago has a long history of closed door planning and rush decision making that does not end well for taxpayers. Just look at the Lincoln Yards, the 78, the Chicago Casino, and the infamous parking meter deal. Each of these is going to make Chicago into a world class city and be a win 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 for residents. Now that's fair. Some of that is anyway. So yeah, I mean they may not get what we want. But the question is, what is the actual rush? Do rush processes in Chicago ever end well? Our city takes decades to build a grocery store in a food desert, but we are being asked to jump as high as the bears tell us to and fast. Yet Bronzeville, home of the former Ida B. Wells project and other public housing sites that were promised replacement housing from their communities were demolished in the early 2000s, are still empty in 2024. What about the other parks in Chicago that have waited for equitable investment in their communities? Does a rush process for an NFL team make more sense? What other sites are vetted by the Bears in the city of Chicago? What was the specific decision to not to proceed with each of those sites? You dumbasses, Jesus fucking Christ! Like, do you have to leave your brain at the door when you walk into a Friends of the Park meeting or something? What the fuck is going on here? How does this plan demonstrate investment in the people that Mayor Johnson promised to Chicago when he ran for office? So uh, what about Soldier Field? First, its history was all but obliterated with public funds, which we are still paying off, but now it is set for demolition. What message are we sending to our veterans and their families? That we're building a bigger place for the veterans and families. Stupid fucking people. Guys, what is your opinion here? Are these guys idiots or is it just me? I mean, they're really just kind of, I want to cry. So immigrant, I want to cry. So homeless, eh. What does that shit have to do with moving a stadium from one section to another section and then adding more green space? It is bonkers, the stupidity here. Now, if you're looking at this from a financial perspective, I understand what they're saying financially. The Bears took out a $400 million bond, or the city took out a $400 million bond, which they now owe something like $432 million on after paying for 20 years. So they screwed themselves in this. I'm not debating that financially. There's sure there's financial problem. There really is, and something's going to have to be done. However, if you don't do this, and it's fine if you don't. By the way, it'll be fine if you don't. But if you do, then you're talking about the Bears taking the fuck off and moving to Arlington Heights. Which, by the way, if you're one of these dingbats, you probably want that. You know what I mean? Like you probably want them to do that because you're like, oh, that's exactly what I want. So it's just idiot stuff here. Jesus fucking Christ. So anyway, a lot of weird stuff going on in the rush to get this stadium built. And yeah, they are trying to move fast. We're all trying to move fast. So like chill out and hug a goddamn tree or something. Whew. Now, heard it on the X. We already saw the design. I moved a little bit ahead when we did that. By the way, when the Bears, the ESPN reported it as a $5 billion deal, they of course rounded up because gotcha. You know what I mean? Because actual accurate reporting. We don't do that shit here. You know what I mean? But the one thing that we have left over that we haven't so far is with the first pick in the 2024 NFL draft, the Bears select, and this is Barstool Chicago, pointing out that they're pretty much locked in that it's going to be Caleb Williams. So with that, we move on now. Well, you know what? It strikes me that the fact that I have a podcast and that I'm able to do this allows me to do shit like say, friends of the park, you're a bunch of fucking idiots. And I mean that in the medical way, because again, as a doctor of thugonomics, I am qualified to provide you with medical advice. So please take each other's fingers out of your butts and start using your brain. So it's just wild. It's just wild to me. Anyway, as far as the team goes, nothing changes over here. Nothing changes on the defense. And as we get into the draft, I did leave Roma Dunzi in here. However, it's about to get crazy because I went through the draft and what did I get? Caleb Williams, and then at number 9, Malik Neighbors was available, and that trumped everything. That was the first guy. That's the man that I think that everybody wants to have, not named Marvin Harrison Jr., that we would be looking for that would turn this into an absolute game changer. Malik Neighbors falls in the draft. Roma Dunzi, by the way, was taken before Malik Neighbors in this draft. So we ended up getting Malik Neighbors. Now, I know, by the way, Lord Crimson's going to have a question for me a little bit later on. At number 75, I took Chris Jenkins, defensive tackle. We need a backup for Gervon Dexter. Again, we're just kind of holding pat on the defense. And then at number 122, I took Jamari Thrash. Now, if I took Malik Neighbors, why, you might be asking yourself, would I take Jamari Thrash? Well, because he's from Louisville and because I like Louisville and I'm a Louisville fan. So it's my goddamn draft. So if I take a crazy ass pick at one time, I'm no different than any of these other people who are picking, wild ass names over here. And to be fair, like I really like Jamari Thrash. He's not an NFL. I don't think he's an NFL level guy, but it's the last draft before. So all we've got to do is talk about who we actually picked going forward as we do this. So in my final draft, I put a nod out there to Jamari Thrash, who was coming in as about the number 122 player. I did, however, want to reach out and grab Ike Garendo. Ike Garendo, to me, is a fantastic running back coming out of Louisville, but he was the number 168 selection. And even if you guys didn't know that, you would have looked at it and been like, no, Joe Alt was not available at number 9. But I mean, Dallas Turner was available. Olu Fashanu was available. JJ McCarthy was not available. Brock Bowers was not available. He went before Malik Neighbors. It was a weird sort of draft. Like every once in a while, you get one of those crazy mocks that just kind of make you go, what the just happened here? You know what I mean? So let's pop this up. I mean, you see it every once in a while, and you're just like, what the hell just happened? We'll do one like here real quick. 7 fast Chicago. We're gonna enter this draft. And we're not gonna improve the team with draft picks. Gross. All right, so here we go. All right, so we're gonna reject trades. But now at this point, now we have the number 2 player, Drake May, now available at number 9. So what do we get? We got Caleb Williams, then we got Jaden Daniels, then we got JJ McCarthy, then we got Marvin Harrison, then we got Olu Fashanu, we got Malik Neighbors, we got Brock Bowers, then we got Joe Alt. So what's available? Dallas Turner, Roma Dunze, Drake May. Let's take Drake May. He's going to back up Caleb Williams, right? Yeah. Oh, Lord. So we're going to take Rome because that follows suit on what we're looking for there. And then it comes down to who's available at 75. Who's normally available at 75 is Chris Jenkins. I don't know that he will be, but, if he's not, then we're going to pick out whoever is available. And God damn it, we actually got an MHJ from OSU. We got Michael Hall Jr. from Ohio State as our defensive tackle. Still looking at that defensive tackle position over here. And then we've got where am Jamari Thrash? Somebody already took Jamari Thrash. Are you shitting me? God damn it. Jamari Thrash went at number 107. I was looking to do that, by the way. I was going to take him one more time just to annoy somebody. But if you come down here just a little bit more, at number 168, I want to say 162, you have Ike Garendo. So we're going to take Isaac Garendo, running back out of Louisville. There we go. So, what do we do with our picks here? We were irresponsible. We took Caleb Williams, we took Roma Dunze, then we took Michael Hall Jr., and we took Ike Garendo. So there we go. Just a wild ass draft. But it's crazy to see somebody like a Drake May just pop down into that. And it's a testament, by the way, to you never really know what people are going to do when it comes into this draft, So we'll take Caleb one more time here and let's see who's available. We're going to reject, we're going to reject, we're going to reject. Now on this one, it was Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors going before Marvin Harrison Jr. At number 5, Olu Fashanu, Joe Alt, Latu Latu. And then at number 9, we have J.J. McCarthy, now the 8th overall pick. He was 15 not too long ago. And Brock Bowers at number 9, Dallas Turner at number 10, and Roma Dunze at number 11. Now, by the way, if it were my choice and we were looking at this with a clean slate, I would be looking at Brock Bowers. Full disclosure, because I think that it's important to have one of those tight end outlet guys. But I think that we already have two of them in Gerald Everett and Cole Kmet. So, and Gerald Everett's here for 2 years. Cole Kmet's here for another, I want to say 4 years. So we've locked up the tight end position and we don't have any value by upgrading that position tremendously as much as we would benefit from upgrading other positions. And I hope that makes sense. I hope I'm explaining that the right way as the reason why I'm not taking Brock Bowers, or I wouldn't take Brock Bowers at this position. Now, you might ask yourself, well, what about DJ Moore and Keenan Allen? Well, we don't have a slot receiver at this point either. And Roma Dunze, I mean, if we're just considering what people are saying, Roma Dunze is a game-changing guy who's going to make your quarterback better. And what do the Chicago Bears need more than anything? They need to make the team better. Here are the needs that this team has right here: quarterback, edge, wide receiver, offensive center, and defensive tackle. So the question becomes, are we taking advantage of those needs? So we're going to take Roma Dunze and we're going to fill him into that position. I would like to see a lot more growth. I would like to see a lot more. But when you accept here that we have limited options for this year and that this year is not every year, this at the very top, to be clear, um, to be clear, this position that we're in right now is a very, very strong first round, and after that, big drop. Second round. After the second round, third round, there's an enormous drop off. A drop off that most analysts do not see next year. So giving up the farm. Remember, a couple days ago, I did a draft where I gave up the first round and second round pick for next year. And yeah, I mean, you might say, well, fine. I mean, but in order to move up and to get Marvin Harrison Jr., but there's still some questions on whether Marvin Malik and Roma Dunze are, are maybe these guys are better than Marvin Harrison Jr. Maybe. I don't think they are. I think Marvin Harrison is the only generational talent, but there's a lot of people looking at this and saying, well, I mean, this guy's, come on. So anyway, let's take, so right here at number 75, I got an offer. Let's pull this back up on the big screen. I got an offer to trade with the Baltimore Ravens for the 93 and the number 113. That could pick up some draft capital, by the way. I think I'm going to take that trade. I'm not going to just move on it. So let's take that trade. And now, what do we want to do in our number 93? Well, at number 93, we've already taken Caleb Williams. We've already taken Roma Dunze. We need an edge rusher. We need a center. We need a defensive tackle. What do we have that strikes us out here that we could take? How about Blake Fisher, offensive tackle out of Notre Dame? Now we got number 113. This is where we're going to reach down and we're going to get Jamari Thrash one more time. Hella, hello, holla, holla, holla. I'm just kidding. We're not going to do that. But we are going to take defensive tackle Mekhi Wingo at number 119. You know what? Actually, let's look at that one more time. Yeah, that's going to be the guy. We're going to take Mekhi Wingo at the number, and then we got the 122 pick we still have available. And then the question becomes, what do we do about that? Well, so far we've taken a quarterback, a wide receiver, an offensive tackle, and a defensive tackle. Do we have a center that comes available at any point? We've got Hunter Nuzard, the center from Penn State. I think somebody said they love Hunter Nuzard. We got Bo Limmer. We got Matt Lee. You know what? God damn it. Let's take Hunter Lazard. There we go. So now our picks ended up being Caleb Williams, Roma Dunze, Blake Fisher, Mikhail Wingo, and Hunter Norzad. So we filled every single position of need for the Chicago Bears. Are they going to be good people? I don't know. And Illinois Jones, and by the way, what he had said was funny thing is that not really the offense Waldron runs. It's two receivers and two tight ends. That's what I'm saying. Like I don't know that I don't know what we're going to do. I'm just guessing like everybody else, but it seems like um, I would like to see Brock Bowers. I really feel like Brock Bowers is probably going to be one of those guys. But I already think Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett are great guys in their own. And like you can't get everything you want. You can't get everybody you want. There could be somebody better coming along. I mean, again, we've got an argument over the best wide receiver in this draft, even though it seems obvious. We got an argument over quarterbacks, even though it seems obvious. Like there's certain pieces here that we're just, this is a deep draft for a couple of different positions. In fact, maybe that offensive tackle position. However, maybe there's better coming out next year. And maybe with the Chicago Bears, you're going to get a better option next year in the first and second round. Remember, you got 1 first-round pick and you got 2 second-round picks next year. And you got a normal amount of draft picks. The Bears are going to be stocked. You know what I mean? It would just be something, you know what I mean? Anyway, yeah, and Spiritual Architect says tonight on America's Newest Millionaire should mark the first time an NFL pick has been drafted who's already a millionaire. Well, actually, it won't be. It's been 2 years now that we've had NIL, and a couple of these guys have been millionaires coming out of college, which actually I think makes them better players for the NFL, not because the money makes them better, but because the money changes their lives. So these players are coming out a little more wealthy out of college, and they have a little bit more in their pocket. So it makes it easier for them to transition into a situation in which they have a lot of money, signing bonuses and whatnot. So Caleb Williams making $10 million a year the last 2 years. So yeah, he's probably doing pretty well right now. It's going to be very, very interesting. So anyway, that's my time, guys. We're going to wrap it up just a little bit early because I'll be back on at 7 p.m. tonight. I hope you guys join in. Maybe we'll come on about 6:30. But we're going to start talking about the draft. We're going to start looking at it. We're going to start projecting who it is, who it's going to be, and that's it. So until then, bear down, guys, and we will talk to you again